Welcome back. We're here for another episode of Down For It. I'm your host, Victoria Koopman. Today's topic, if you haven't seen it, is are you down for putting down your to-do list? Today we're going to be looking in Mark 6:30 through 52. Come away by yourselves to a remote place and rest for a while. Jesus instructed his disciples to isolate and rest. They had just came to Jesus sharing what all they had done, what all they had taught in that moment. So at that point, it was time for them to rest for a while. It was a very busy place that they were in, so just like us, we get busy with life. We get busy with our schedule, with our plans, with our list of to-dos. We get so caught up in all of that, and then on top of it, we really don't rest. We're not a very restful society. But then we also on the back end wonder why we're not really feeling our best, or we're feeling zapped, drained, or even just discouraged some of the time. The first question is God even calling you to do the same list of to-dos you're calling yourself? The first step, of course, is going to be realizing what we want is not always what God has planned, nor what's even in store for us. This is a very silly analogy, but just imagine trying to make a milkshake and all the only ingredients you have are ketchup and milk. No matter what you do, the amounts, how much effort you put in it, how long it takes, no matter what you do, as you obviously can figure out, this is never going to be a great milkshake. And it's never also going to be what you as a creator intended it to be. Even though we want a milkshake, we don't have all the ingredients that we actually need. So how do you feel at the end of that? Of course, exhausted, frustrated, like, oh my gosh, I put all my effort in for this milkshake just for it to not be great, because it's not what God actually has desired it to be. Because if he gives you the proper ingredients to make a milkshake, then you're going to be able to make that. But if God doesn't actually desire you to go some places, then he's not going to give you the exact ingredients most of the time to get there, because that's not really what he has in store for you. If there's one thing about God, it's the fact that he has called you somewhere. He will, in that case, provide all the materials that you need to get you there. The thing is, though, that might not all come at once. It's going to be in his timing, which a lot of times looks a lot different than ours. But I think a lot of times we just get so caught up in, okay, this is where he has me going, but how am I supposed to do it? We get caught up in, how to get there. Or a lot of times we don't even consult God if that's even where he actually wants us to go. So here we are providing all of our effort. It's like God didn't even want us to make a milkshake. That's why we don't have the right ingredients to make it. And I know it's a silly thing to compare it to, but you can compare that to anywhere, like your job, your friendships, the group of people you surround yourself with. If it isn't what God has called you to be, it's not going to be a lot of times as easygoing and easy flowing as whenever he's called you to do something and you're obedient to that, he's going to help you out along the way. God has done that time and time again for me, even just based off this podcast. When we do receive a word from God, what is our immediate response? Is it to act immediately, or is it to say yes, to move, or is it to question and force God to double down on his word? The thing about God is, thankfully, he's very merciful and he's very patient with us. But that doesn't mean that we're not kind of delaying our breakthrough at the same time, though. We're not delaying the process and the process of what he has intended for our lives, because we're sitting here, I don't know. I need a word. I need another word. I need another one. Let me really double check. He's like, I told you everything you needed to know. Move. I know I did that with this podcast. But another thing that's very easy to do is putting our list above God's. We constantly justify why we haven't gotten things done, or, we will when this happens, or when it gets easier in this area, not actually taking accountability for what God is wanting us to do in this moment. He's not asking you to look around and take inventory of how you'd be able to even get there. He's saying, hey, this is what I'm calling you to. That's all the information that we need to know. He didn't ask you to check your calendar. He didn't ask you to get back to him. He already knows what you prioritize. He already knows what your calendar schedule looks like. If he believes, even with all of that you can do it, who are you to say that you can't? Now, later in the story, The people were still around Jesus and his disciples, and it was getting late at this point. At first, when they told Jesus, they said, "Hey, my guy's late, and we need to send them away so they can go eat, they can figure it out." They were ready for the people to go, yet Jesus responded and told them, instead of sending them away, we're going to give them something to eat. That is when he blessed and broke the loaves that continued to bless other people. Have you ever been at church with your mom, grandma, a friend, and you rode together, and they just keep running into people they know? They just keep chit-chatting over here, chit-chatting over there. And you're like, I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to grab some lunch. I'm hungry. I need a bite to eat. Like, we got our own agenda going on here, but just like the disciples, they didn't plan for their night to go that way. But notice when Jesus called and instructed them to do something, that was off of their list of to-dos. When God calls you to do something outside of your list of to-dos, it's never going to go in vain. The disciples were obedient, of course. They ended up blessing thousands of men, women, and children because of that. But even if it just would have been simply one person they would have fed, it still would have been worth it. Where do you feel like God has called you in the past to help or bless someone, but you chose your own list of to-dos over that? Maybe it was giving a friend a ride to the airport. Maybe it was giving someone a meal. It could be something where we see a need, but we're so caught up in our own list of what we need to get done, what we need to do, we forget what we're really on this earth to do. And we become very selfish. It's easy to do. We're all human. We've all done it. And with that being said, we are all human. While we don't want to admit our faults, we definitely all have fallen short and continue to fall short of the things that the Lord has asked. But what if God needs to break us in order for others to be blessed? Stick with me for a moment. The moments that you have found yourself in a difficult decision, situation, place, season, we can feel that brokenness within us. A lot of times it's pretty loud, it's deafening. Like at that point you truly feel defeated. At that point you feel like, okay, there is nothing else that I can do. But listen to what Psalms 107:10 says. When we are on the mountaintop, we think we got there on our own. We live in our own world, not thinking of others. We pride ourselves in the fact that we got there, and we abandon the needy around us. You see it all in the world today, all over the world. Famous actors, celebrity, politicians, they sit there with millions, if not billions of dollars, and they don't share a penny. And it isn't because they can't. It's because their heart posture just isn't aligned with giving, because they don't recognize how much that they've been given and how much they've been blessed in their own lives. It can be easy to play in your mind, what you would do in that situation. If I had all this money, I would donate here, I would give here. But we have something better than money could ever buy. We have access to God. We have access to the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. We have unlimited time with Him in our rooms, in the car, at our job, during quiet time, at the grocery store. The whole point isn't just to know about God, it's to actually have a relationship with Him. Another thing is, our list of to-dos don't have to exclude God either. I did have a day very recently where I only had a few calls at work, and I literally considered it my Sabbath. I was getting so much done. I reorganized my whole closet, and I just had such a peace about it, because I wasn't, oh my gosh, okay, get this done, get that done. Like, I really genuinely was just going with the flow. I was inviting the Lord in. I was listening to worship music. I was sitting around kind of relaxing. But the difference between that and any other day was the fact that I was inviting God into this space and just kind of talking to God about life. And that's what He wants. That's what He desires with us, to have that relationship where we can just hang out while I'm folding my clothes. It is easy to hold on to control and manage every possible outcome, but what if we chose today to let go of expectation, to let God lead us every second, every hour of the day, in every situation, and know that He has the best outcome that I asked for. It's like reflecting on the disciples. They could have said, I'm hungry, I'm gonna go, like, we gotta figure it out, you do what you want to do. What are we missing out in our day-to-day where God's wanting us, hey, like, take a moment, pray for someone, bless someone? What are we missing because we're so dialed into our own list of to-dos? God has invited us to co-labor with Him to build His eternal kingdom. What we do today doesn't just matter for today. What we do today matters for eternity, because God can use all of it to build His kingdom. Now, if anyone's a fan of a list here, hello. I am so type A. I have lists. I color coordinate things. I have about 4 different calendars. I know I know how to spend my time creating lists. Sometimes I spend more time creating the list than even doing the list. But I like to know that I'm making progress. But sometimes the problem is, as soon as I check off one thing, or I check off my whole list of to-dos, there's immediately things that are going to fill that. It is a never-ending cycle of to-do list to next to-do list. And I think if we're not careful, we can start to see even our relationship with God as a checklist. Sometimes following God can feel like a list of to-dos in order to be maybe like a good Christian, or to feel like you're actually pleasing the Lord. And that can be things like reading the Bible, praying, going to church, serving, joining a small group, journaling with God, etc. But obviously all of these things are good things, but becoming holy isn't just about a checklist, like we're trying to be productive at the end of the day. All of the years that I have followed God, I have time and time again seen Him use every single circumstance of conflict, joy, pain, sorrow to make me more holy. But it isn't the checklist that gets me there. It's through the relationship with God where He changes my perspective on the to-do list, on the situations that I'm going through. When we follow God and we have a relationship, we can honestly throw that to-do list out of the window and just fully jump into a relationship that brings God glory, that brings us joy, and does the world good. In Matthew 6:33 it says, "But first seek the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you." I remember not this past year, but the year prior, I did my first ever vision board, and I also did a blessing board. Again, I like goals, and that's in a form of a list. And this year I wanted to do it again, and I remember talking with a close friend who has a very close relationship with God too, and she was like, honestly, I'm not making one this year, and I was like, why? It's so much fun, you can be girly, like it's just a fun thing to do, like why wouldn't you want to do that? She's like, because what I want doesn't really matter. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, God cares about what you want. But I mean, she's right. At the end of the day, like, what we want shouldn't be the main focus. And while it's still fun and you can do it and there's no harm in it, and I have mine up for 2026, and for me it was really beneficial to see the blessing board last year that I had, where almost every single thing got checked off, and I could look back on the year and reflect on His faithfulness and His goodness. It's true though, like all the stuff even on my vision board that's separate, it's like, oh, maybe I want certain things, or maybe I have a goal to get there eventually, but I mean, yeah, at the end of the day it really doesn't matter. Me getting a motorcycle I don't want to hear it. Me getting a motorcycle has nothing to do with the glory of God. Now He can use all things. Maybe that's, something with my testimony. I don't know, but He doesn't really care at the end of the day what my vehicle I drive around in is. Well, it can be easy to first wake up beginning of the day and immediately think, okay, I gotta get this done for work. I gotta do this afterwards. I'm serving tonight. I need to figure out what meals I'm eating. It can be so easy the minute you wake up to immediately go to the list of to-dos. But we also have the opportunity every single morning to invite God into that first step before even getting out of bed. We can invite Him into the day, and we can reflect on our daily routine. We have the opportunity to invite God into that first step before even getting out of our bed, to invite Him in and to really just let Him lead the day. Reflect on your personal daily routine. Are you making God a priority in your daily routine? And do you ever find some days it just feels like nothing is going right? Yes, I'm type A, but it's so beneficial to start to see patterns of when you feel your best or when things go well for you, and start to really honestly get some data on your life and start to realize, what does make a day really good for me? Is it starting in the morning with coffee, reading my Bible? Is it doing a devotional? Figure out something that works for you that really makes you feel good and just starts your day off on the best note possible. It's not obviously realistic to change your routine 100% or change your life overnight. You can make the decision today, of course, to begin with that one step at a time. And you can compare the days that you put God first versus the days that you just hit the ground running, and see what the difference is with that. I'll tell you personally, my life has completely changed with the morning routine. Instead of just waking up, brushing my teeth, maybe eating a random food item or breakfast and getting on a call, no, I don't do that anymore. I wake up 2 hours before my first appointment, no matter if that's 9 a.m. or whatever time it would be. I would say like 2 p.m., but I'm not sleeping until noon. The point is, I'm going to give myself quality time to do a devotional, to journal a little bit, to read whatever Bible verse the devotional was in, to spend time to pray. Spending that time, I'm eating breakfast, I'm having coffee, and I'm not in a rush. Another thing that's very easy to talk about, having my health background, is there's a difference between a parasympathetic nervous system and a sympathetic nervous system. When we're constantly running around, as soon as we wake up in the morning, we're basically setting the cortisol levels going crazy. We're already setting ourselves up for a day that's stressed out, when we need a day that we're starting with some peace. Especially if you have kids, especially if you're taking care of other people, it's so important. Or you're married, to have that time to fuel yourself, to pour into your own cup, so you can then in turn be the best that you can be. Just allow yourself to have a slow morning. Even if you're having to wake up earlier, just do it for a week. Do it for 2 days. Notice the difference. Wake up and exercise. Figure out what works for you. I promise it's gonna make all of the difference when it comes to you feeling your best through the day. And that's gonna look different for everyone. But having that relaxed flow is going to benefit your health, yourself, the people around you. But it's just so important to first even take a step back. And I think that's one of the main things I want with this podcast, is not to just throw all these different challenges at you. Well, yes, that's the point of this, is to inspire and challenge. It's really also just to take a step back and reflect. There's nothing wrong with just taking inventory of where you're at in life and where things fall short, or where, hey, I'm doing pretty good there, pat myself on the back. So the whole point is to just be self-aware. Being self-aware is so important, and just to know if there are things that can make your life easier, then kudos to you. I'm just hoping that this podcast can help you figure out what that looks like one step at a time. But first step for this specific podcast is just take a look at your to-do list, invite God into it. Ask yourself, is this a to-do list that I need to do? Is this a to-do list that God is calling me to? Are there priorities that we can adjust on this to-do list? Is it what He's even calling me to do in the first place? So again, just reflecting on what we prioritize during the day. If we're so focused every single day on things that don't actually matter, weeks, months, years, decades are going to go by before we even maybe take a step back to realize, I was just in such go mode. I couldn't even see the world around me, and I couldn't actually focus on what was important, or I couldn't even focus on goals I had because I didn't take the time to set up how to make that work in my life. And I'll just reiterate what it says at the beginning of Mark 6:30. Come away by yourselves to a remote place and rest for a while. We'll sum up this podcast with a question and a prayer. Are you down to put down your to-do list? Dear Heavenly Father, God, I just thank you for today. I thank you for your reminder that this world is busy. This world has its own list of to-dos, God, but nothing is more important than you and your kingdom and advancing that. And God, we just pray that every single person listening to this is reminded of what their to-do list is, what their calling is, what you have put on their heart, God. And I pray that you just remind them that time with you is the most precious time that they will ever have, even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's at the grocery store, in the car with the kids. That time with you is never wasted. So God, I pray you open up a door of rest for them, that you show them what is important, show them what the list of to-dos really should look like in order for them to have the most fruit in their lives. Lord, I pray that they got out of this what they needed to hear tonight. I pray that you bless them. I pray that you keep them safe. And I pray all of this in your son Jesus' name. Amen. There's a freaking ant on my computer. Get off of there. Get your ice, honey. And then you gotta get that water next. Look, they're getting a lot of ice. This is the part about having roommates in a podcast. It doesn't always align time-wise, but we're still gonna get it done. No excuses around here. I really hope you can hear this on the everything, but if not, great. If not, wonderful. Honestly, it'll be good to look back at this and see if you can. Okay. Now, last question I have. Are you down to put do